guys, how we doing? Great to see you. Great to have you here. And I have to say, I am so sorry it's taken us so long to get a video out here. This is our wrap up for ice fishing here in central Alberta. We really enjoyed ourselves this winter. We had a lot of great experiences, but I'm going to tell you, the fishing just sucked. We had a terrible time catching fish. So that was one of the problems that I faced to get a YouTube video out. Is I had the idea, I was going to go to Calling Lake, we were going to catch fish, we were going to go to Fallis, we were going to catch fish, we were going to go to Lac St. Anne, and I'm going to show you some of the great action we had when we were on those lakes. Us setting up our tent, us taking our tent down, us setting up our tent, but there was no action when it came to catching fish, which was really sad. So we would get on the lake, we'd set up, and I'd get my camera right by the hole, and at that time I just had my regular cell phone camera, and we would see fish on the camera. We would see them, actually sometimes they'd come up and bump our bait, but they just weren't biting. And it was getting discouraging because my idea was once a week I was going to come out with a video and then put it on YouTube, and then the week that I worked would be my bye week, and I'd have 3 videos a month, and that was like back in 1st of February, but that didn't happen. And as time went on, I started really just kind of getting a little anxious to get a video out there to let you guys know we're still breathing, we're still living, but we have no fish to show for it. It was a tough one. But something I heard on a podcast was you can have the right bait, you could have the right tackle, you go at the right time, but if the fish will not cooperate, you will not catch any fish. And that's kind of what we signed up for, right? I mean, sometimes the fish are biting and you're catching. There's other times where you go out, you'll spend 8 hours, 16 hours, and you might only have 1 fish to show for it. So that's kind of the deal when it comes to fishing, the pros and cons. And even though we don't catch any fish, we still have like an amazing time. I mean, the positivity of getting out there and seeing nature and enjoying time away, just being able to get out and enjoy the water is just incredible. And that's really the whole part of the experience. As much as catching fish is like kind of like the highlight of fishing, because I mean that's what we're supposed to do, right? We go fishing, we're supposed to catch fish. But there's more to it than just actual catching fish. Now that's a nice sunset. Right, Sheldon? So, wrapping up our winter ice fishing experience, we had a couple of takeaways, a couple items that really improved our life on ice. And the first item out of this year's improvements was this diesel heater. So before this diesel heater, we used to bring propane bottles, and they're bulky. You got to fill them up every other weekend. And I noticed that some of the guys were running these diesel heaters and thought it'd be really cool if we could run one ourselves. So with a little research and a little time in the shop, we were able to wire this box up with a diesel heater. And now, instead of bringing propane, we just bring diesel. The nice thing about the diesel heater is you have a control unit right here. Now this control unit basically controls the heat in your tent or your Jeep, depending where you have your heat, right? So we have a cold air duct, a hot air duct. We have a couple intakes in the back that are outside. That's your exhaust, and then your intake for the air going into the combustion chamber. So basically, this controls the heat in your tent. So I can set this for 18 Celsius, and the heater will keep the tent at 18. Now, on a very cold day, this may have limitations to keeping the heat at 18. So like, let's say when we were at Calling Lake and it was minus 11, we had no problem with this keeping up to plus 17, plus 18 while we were sleeping. Minus 16, minus 20, minus 25. I found it was a little harder for it to keep a 6-man tent warm at night. And my tent was insulated. We have the Eskimo 6i. But I was still able to sleep at night and be comfortable. So I give this heater 4 stars. I don't give it 5 stars because, you know, it did not keep the tent like at 18 the entire time we're there. But then again, we're camping, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be like the Holiday Inn heat. It's going to be like the Bender back outdoors heat. So I give this 4 stars. Like, I'm so impressed with it. Now, if you're going to use this overnight, you will use in a day, like let's say one day, 24 hours, you'll use pretty much 1 tank. So if you're there 2 days, you'll bring a jerry can with you and top it up in the morning. We hook this up to a deep cell car battery, and we get about a day's worth, about 24, maybe 28 hours of power on one battery. So we have 2 deep cell cycle batteries. We hook one up. We're good for the afternoon. We're good for the night. The next morning, we hook up the next battery, put the first battery in the tent so it doesn't freeze. And we've had like next to no issues. Now, our last ice fishing trip was in Lac La Biche, and we got there. I remembered that I had forgotten my second battery. So we had heat from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way around to about midnight, and the battery went dead. And then we had to kind of work things out to get heat with, you know, different ways. Like I basically, well, I don't even want to get into that. Let's just say it wasn't a very peaceful night, but we got through it, right, Kyra? So if you're going to run a diesel heater, you may want a couple of deep cell batteries, or possibly another kind of a charger that you can bring with you. I've often ran this thing off the Jeep. That was another way. Then charge my battery when it got low. But there are different ways you can hook up this diesel heater. So definitely a game changer. Love the diesel heater and really impressed with its performance. So the second item that I'd like to talk about, which I found was a game changer, is our Garmin Striker 4. Our Garmin Striker 4 was just a beautiful piece, and I really enjoyed using it. Now, I was really glad to see as I bought it that it included the kayak in-hull transducer mount. That's a game changer, because this spring when we start kayak fishing, I'll be able to hook this unit up to my kayak and use it this summer. So what is it that I liked about the Garmin Striker 4? What I liked about the Garmin Striker 4 is not only did it tell us how deep water we were in, but it also helped us know where the fish were. Now, as you can see on the circle, the transducer goes in the water. So this is our ice fishing transducer. And basically, as you drop your lure, you will see it go down to the mark where you're at the bottom of the lake. So let's say your lake was 20 feet deep. Your lure would go down to 20, and you would actually see your lure at the 20 mark. And when you lift it, you would see it rise up. Now, when a fish came underneath the triangle of this transducer, it would appear on the screen. Then we were able to take our lure, and let's say the fish was at 15 feet. We would be able to bring up the bait or the lure above the fish's eyes or mouth so the fish could see the bait. Because we understand that fish don't see anything underneath them. They only see what's above them. So in order to catch fish, you got to have the bait above the fish's eyes, right, or mouth. So we would like see a fish on here, we'd bring it up to the 15 mark, bring it up to the 10 mark, reel it right up, then lower it down, and more than often the fish underneath here, you would see it come up as it chased the bait. So that's what I liked about the Garmin Striker 4. It's going to be nice to have that when we're on our kayak and we're fishing, because then we can know, okay, we're in 20 feet of water, we're in 10 feet of water. Oh man, we got 2 feet of water. We must be getting into a sandbar, and then, you know, we can change course or do what we got to do to get around it. So it's definitely a game changer. And for the money that I spent on it, I think I bought this at Cabela's for somewhere around $300. I highly recommend it for anyone who wants something that they can use that's affordable, because we all know you can spend like thousands of dollars on this stuff. But for this here, for just looking down below, this is great. It works well, and I was really happy with it. So we had a great ice fishing season, and even though we didn't catch many fish in the new year here, we still had a blast. And that's what it's all about. You know, you learn as you go, you bring your new insights and advice out to the lake, you try new stuff, and each day you get a little better at what you do. And even though you don't catch fish, I gotta say, like I said before, your tackle can be spot on, you can have the right bait, the right technique, but unless the fish are cooperating and participating, you're not gonna catch anything, and that's not your fault. Sometimes that just happens. And that's what we signed up for. That's what fishing's all about. Take care, have a great week, and thanks for watching. And stay tuned to more adventures with Fishing with Kyra and Steve.